Welcome back, everybody, to ISA Insider News. My name is Max Tim, and with us, as always, who do we have?
I'm Shayna Weber. Hey,
Who are you?
everybody.
You're Shane. That's
Wait,
right.
who am I? Who am I? I don't know. Sometimes I don't know who I am.
After watching what we've watched for the past week compared to what we're going to talk about for our top headline, there is a little bit of who am I? Who are
Right.
that is
Who
it,
are we?
it's a weird kind of dichotomy of the film and entertainment industry, right? There's like a difference
Yes.
sometimes between film and entertainment.
Film.
Yeah, film.
Film.
That's what we're going to talk
Film.
about. But before we get into the top headline, we're going to have a funny little reference to the difference between what we've watched to what people are watching at the Venice Film Festival. Because the Venice Film Festival is what our top headline is. But compared to what everybody's watching there, what were you watching over the past week?
I did not watch very important films, but I did watch the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon Prime, and I watched The House of the Dragon on whatever it's on. What's it on? HBO Max. And I finally watched Top Gun.
Okay. All right. I
Mm-hmm.
have not seen Top Gun, so you and your review is swaying me to continue not watching it.
Should we get to that or should I do it now?
Do it. Let's do it. I don't care. What did you think of Top Gun?
All right, Top Gun. First of all, the spectacle and the flying, epic. So cool. Really amazing to watch, like fantastic. But in the making of that film, they forgot that they were trying to tell a story about characters that other than Tom Cruise. It's very clear that this is a Tom Cruise vehicle, and it's only about Tom Cruise's character Maverick and what is going on with him, and it's barely there. Like there's barely any like arc for him. um I felt like if they had just added 10 minutes to this movie, and maybe it's in the script and it just got lost in the edit. If they added 10 minutes to this movie and they made us care or give us any insight, emotion, backstory, story currently with any of those side characters of his team of Top Gun, amazing pilots. Sorry, I just used the F word. um, it would have been an amazing movie. Yeah. But they didn't. There's no fear. They're just there. And by the time you get to the end, you're like, wait, okay, I guess this is it. Okay. All right. That was that. And I like the more I think about it, the more I'm like, wow, I felt like I wanted a charcuterie board and I got a Lunchable.
Nice. That is exactly what needs to be put into the Observer article that we will share for everybody for our top headline talking about the Venice Film Festival. I think that's why and where and how you can look at film festival films and then compare them to the huge big budget spectacle popcorn movies and go, even if you just take 5% of the character development in something like Tar with Cate Blanchett, which sounds like the idea itself is like, I'm not too, but the character journey seems amazing. If you can just get a little bit of that into your big budget movies, why not? Why not spend some time trying to figure that out?
Just a tiny nugget. And there were like a couple in that movie also, before we get into Venice, there were a couple like really weird edits. I'm like, I guess they got themselves in a corner and didn't really know what to do there. So here's the edit. I don't know. It was just like, what is this?
Yeah. And I think in a lot of ways, this is how general audiences, I don't even like calling them general or mainstream, it's just audiences tend to look at stories. We want to be entertained, but we don't, like, we are unconsciously following through with character journeys. And sometimes when you have really small movies like the one that it's Noah Baumbach's White Noise that premiered at Venice Film Fest, we have that reference to what a weird story, and then they're really interesting characters, and so you're watching it for art's sake while hoping there's a story that's also going along. It's so hugely different than the Rings of Power, and I guess in some ways House of the Dragon, even though the character development in House of the Dragon is actually getting really good.
Yeah.
And then, Resident Evil and these very mainstream, obviously for entertainment shows. But then again, you watch, even with the first two episodes of Rings of Power, I have a lot of thoughts. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. They did such a great job. You were able to settle into the various character storylines that were spanned across so many thousands of miles, and you were still able to follow along. But what did you think of Rings of Power?
For me, comparing the two, the the Game of Thrones series versus the, it's totally different. Like I don't want to compare them, and I don't think you need to compare them. I think they have similarities, but they're so different. One is like Superman. I think of Lord of the Rings as like Superman. He has good, it's like good heart, and we're going towards the light side of the force, right? And then there's House of the Dragon, which is all dark and like gore and blood, and Batman. Yeah, so it's like Superman versus Batman. You don't have to compare the two. They're totally different superheroes.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I feel about the two. I loved it. There were some slow moments for sure, but it was gorgeous, and I'm into it now. Did you also notice, this is a little fun fact, in the first episode, and it's at minute 5, they show a dragon that's like coming in, and like it was kind of like a little House of the Dragon. They show a dragon coming in, and like it was like, well, we have dragons too.
I guess it didn't register because
I know
dragons, I don't know, like this is where my geek hat comes on. I don't know if they existed at that time. They might have.
Well, there's some kind of dragon. I don't know if it's a dragon, but it's some kind of magical flying beast.
Okay. Yeah. So my thing with Rings of Power, we are going to talk about Venice Film Festival in our top headline, I promise, but it's more fun to talk about with things that we've watched. But it's interesting you said it got a little slow at times. I wanted it to be a little slower at times.
Yeah.
The only critique I really have is that they had this music edit where in every scene there was some form of thematic music playing in the background, which never allowed me to go, let's get into the scene. Almost always a feeling of, we're still getting started. This is just part of the montage. This is just part. I'm like, let me settle in. House of the Dragon, when you watch these scenes and it's really heated between two characters, it's quiet. You have ambient noise.
Right.
You're able to watch these characters be the characters. That was the only critique I had about Rings of Power. It felt surface level. But I love that, and I don't know if this is true yet, but the order of wizards that Gandalf is a part of is called the Istari, Istari. And this is a new kind of, it's a teeny little thing that came in the book, The Silmarillion, where they talked about how the Istari came about. And so this guy that comes flying out of the air in the fireball and lands in technically the Hobbits realm, I hope this is the first wizard. Because now I'm like, I'm in. If he's,
I was wondering that. I was like, who is this wizard? I didn't know if it was Gandalf, because I don't know that world like you do. So I was wondering if that was Gandalf, or if that's like someone else like before him, because and that's like totally interesting to me. That part I loved.
That's going to be fun. It was just beautiful to look at. Every frame was like, wow, you can see where they spent their money, man. You know? On the flip side, there was not a lot of money put into these movies at the Venice Film Festival, but from the images and stills that I've seen, we haven't watched any of these movies, they do look beautiful, and they have some really talented directors in there. I think that's why the film festivals exist, to be able to show talent from, the Lars von Triers and the Noam Baumbachs and all these wonderful people. There's this one, it's a French thriller called The Origin of Evil, written and directed by Sebastian Marnier, who made a great creepy classroom thriller called School's Out. Stars Laura Calame as a woman who works in a canning factory and who makes a surprise call on a very wealthy family in their luxury villa. They're as dysfunctional as they are spoiled, and initially give her the cold shoulder. But soon she's drawn into the proverbial web of intrigue stitched from a succession of ingenious twists. I still have no idea what the concept is, but
that's very fancy.
It's very hoity-toity, but all these films sound like they're just something that you can really sink your teeth into. This Brendan Fraser thing,
Bones and All
is a movie about a cannibal teenager meeting other cannibals. I mean, it's crazy. But this Brendan Fraser thing is it's sweeping the internet right now.
Yes, he's starring in The Whale, which is a Darren Aronofsky film, where he plays a reclusive school teacher, I believe, who's trying to make some amends in his life. And I'm just excited because, as a Brendan Fraser fan, he hasn't really done anything for 10 years ish. And that might not be by choice, but I know he had some hard times back then. But I'm excited. I love when there's a real good comeback.
It's just great. I mean, I haven't seen it, so it's hard for me to comment on the quality of the movie itself. But
I'm sure we'll see some following scenes behind him, like shaky camera.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think as far as the top headline, it's just, we wanted to highlight the Venice Film Festival. It's one of those very A-list, film festivals where a lot of buying happens. There are
It's a
only
spectacle in itself.
or it's a spectacle. It's, it's the Toronto and Telluride and Sundance. Anyway, we just wanted to highlight that. You should read the article, take a look at what we have, just kind of get familiar with what's being released through these film festivals. A lot of the movies here, it seems like Cate Blanchett might be nominated. Brendan Fraser might be nominated. So, it's good things to be.
And maybe just like read the article so you can learn more about the films and less about the drama that's happening with Don't Worry, Darling, which seems to be like so much drama and silliness wrapped all up in it. And it makes me feel bad for that film.
It makes me feel bad for so many people. It's hard for me to look at it because Harry Styles, knowing the affair that he had with Olivia Wilde, it broke up the relationship with Jason Sudeikis. And then I look at the actor who plays the love interest next to Harry Styles. I can't remember her name.
Florence Pugh.
Yes, Florence Pugh.
Yes.
It's like I can see Olivia Wilde in her face, and I'm like, this is a little uncomfortable.
I know. I just wish that, I feel bad for all of those people involved because now it's just about that and the Shia LaBeouf stuff, and oh man, it's just drama.
Well, that is our so-called top headline of the week, kind of a match between what are we watching and the top headline, highlighting these amazing creators, we'll call them, at the Venice Film Festival. We're going to do only one more segment. However, we do want a little highlight of what's coming up in terms of ISA events, right?
Yes, we have opened our pitch challenge. It is open until October 6th. So make sure you enter your 90-second video pitch for that, and you'll have an opportunity to pitch live to a panel in November. So do that. We also have an ISA Roundtable webinar discussion coming up on September 14th, where we are talking all about feedback. We are really getting into the trenches about why you need feedback, who to get feedback from, all of that juicy stuff. And it's going to be a group of us from ISA. So make sure you go to the event page and register.
And I am starting a StoryFarm Pro workshop. So it's going to be a 4-month workshop starting as of October 4th. October 1st. We're going to meet 3 times a month, October, November, December, and January. You can email me at max@thestoryfarm.org with more info. There are going to be some emails coming out from the ISA as well. But that's going to be very intensive, and we're going to be sharing material and giving comments. It's like a true workshop. Cool. All right. So let's move on to the last segment. The only ones we're going to do. This is going to be kind of a viewer mail bag, kind of looking at some of the comments that we've had on YouTube and just seeing what people say. This is going to be interesting. I haven't even read through all of the comments yet. Did you get a chance to read through all of them?
I did.
Randomly chose. This is from Lee Norse, a comment on YouTube. Thanks for this information. As for Yellowstone, sorry, Max, I can't give you any insight on what some viewers are grabbed by. I'm not one of those viewers. I've tried to get into season 1 twice, just didn't get pulled in. On the other hand, my sister and her guy are among those binging on Yellowstone. So when asked what she loves about it, and she didn't articulate, but just gushed, it's everything, just watch it. I tried again, but no, it doesn't work for me. I feel like Yellowstone is one of those shows.
Yeah.
You haven't watched it?
Oh, I've seen season 1, and it was fine. It's neither here nor there for me. I'm kind of like, I could watch it, but it's not really one that I'm like going to come back to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. 1883 though, man.
I do want to watch that. Yeah, it is 1883. Well, I like this one from Mariah Pacheco. Thank you. This was so helpful in terms of defining my voice. So we did an episode on finding your voice, and we sort of did 3 words to describe yourself, have someone do the same thing for you, describe you with 3 words. And said, especially the Beetlejuice example, I say I'm morbid but chicken because I'm not a horror movie person. Thanks again.
Morbid but chicken. Interesting. Yeah, 3 words to describe yourself: Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. That's not what the advice was that we gave. But you got to figure out what is going on inside of you in terms of your perspective on the world and why. I think the why you have the perspective is then going to define how you then approach your characters. And let's look at another one. Favorite streamer. Okay, cool. We've got Canopy, California's free library streaming service. They have lots.
It's called Canopy.
Canopy, my bad. It's spelled Kanopy,
Yeah, I
but
think
you're
it's
probably
Canopy.
right. Canopy. They have lots of foreign films from all over the world and other films, which I'm interested in seeing. An excited second is Vidiverse, which was created by director Alex Proyas to make original, independent, and short filmmaking profitable. Lots of amazing films on there and original voices. See, look, we can even learn things, and I don't mean just the two of us, everybody, just by reading the comment section.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I knew about Canopy, but I did not know about Vidiverse.
Yeah, Vidiverse. And sorry, I'm leaning into it because it's hard to read this, but
he's like,
yeah, it is. Yeah, free library streaming service. There you go. Very cool. All right. Let's see another one. This is from our very own Scott Marcus, our editor extraordinaire. Yeah, I checked out that AFI top 100 checklist, and I feel deficient. Only 52 out of the 100 for me. Most shameful misses for him: Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, Blade Runner, Taxi Driver. Wow. I do like
Taxi Driver.
Got all the Charlie Chaplin movies covered, and you two will eventually love Doctor Strange, love Peter Sellers at his best, of course. Yeah. Yeah. I have not seen Taxi Driver.
What?
I know. See, this is why we made that list.
I know. And everyone would go, what?
From another ISA staffer, Sean, I've never seen Sunrise, but the one that I don't think is on the list always amazes people that I've never seen is Pinocchio. And why is there never any love for Harold Lloyd?
Well, there's a new Pinocchio live action coming out, so maybe he can check that one out.
I'm a little concerned. I love Tom Hanks so much, but I have never considered him a possibility for Geppetto. He's supposed to play Pinocchio's father. I don't know, man. I don't know. Felicity Rett says Midnight Cowboy is the one that she's ashamed to admit that she has not seen. I don't know if I'd be all that ashamed to see that one. Midnight Cowboy, you know, I don't know.
Not the worst offense. It's no Taxi Driver.
Right. Lawrence of Arabia and Sophie's Choice, Molly Cash, a director of operations. Lawrence of Arabia was one of the first movies that really made me fall in love with movies.
Ariel Burns said, love hearing that fantasy is trending and excited for my fantasy screenplays. She hasn't watched House of the Dragon yet, but we'll definitely get to it this weekend. So we're making an impact, people.
Yeah, here we go. So, and she's plugging one of her fabulous and favorite authors, Abby Emmons. I have not heard of her. Her YouTube channel focuses on how to make your stories matter, and it always has to do with their inner conflict. So check out Abby Emmons. I'm always happy to promote authors on YouTube. So I've never heard of her, so that's great.
What a great comment with links and everything. Makes it easy. Nice. And I just, you know what, this is like the second person who's commented where they thank me first and then you. And I just have to tell you, I appreciate that so much.
Let's see here. We've got another one. My partner's black. This is from Art Wasem Sr. My partner's black mini with white stripes is named Pepe. So take that, WB. On the writing
Pepe
side,
Le Pew?
I guess so. Yeah. On the writing side, I always start with an outline. They canceled
Pepe Le Pew.
We talked last time about should we outline, is it wrong if you don't, etc. But Blake would roll over in his grave if I told him about sticking to key event page numbers. But I haven't been optioned yet, so I might be off base. By the way, now that no one is buying anything, I am coming out to Los Angeles from Nashville this weekend. Of course, after a few $3 flicks on Saturday. Just to reiterate, Shayna and I are seeing projects getting sold. Writers are getting options. They're finding writing assignments. They're taking meetings. So, it is a blanket statement to say no one's buying anything right now. It's only generally true. Like if you got a great project and you make the right proper inroads and make the right connections and form solid relationships, something eventually is going to hit. But it's a tough business regardless whether people are buying or not.
Got to keep going.
Well, I think that's it for now. If you have any comments of any kind, if you want to share whether or not you outline a movie on the AFI Top 100 that you are ashamed to admit you haven't seen, what did you think about Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power? I can't wait until Friday. I wish they would release all of them at once because I would happily watch 10 straight hours of it.
What movie would you give a 7-minute standing ovation to? I mean, I want to know that answer because that's a long time. If you sit down and you time 7 minutes, it's a long time.
When I watched the clip of Brendan Fraser kind of standing there and reacting, after a while, I'm like, that would be uncomfortable.
Like,
Yeah, thank you. That's great. We're at 5 minutes. I have 2 more. Oh God.
Like, yeah, okay. Yep, thanks. I gotta pee, but can we,
Right.
this is great. Like,
Oh God. Well, any last bits of advice?
maybe wait till Top Gun comes out free.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice.
And let me preface this. I love the first Top Gun. Like, it was my childhood. I love it. And there are aspects of this movie that I love that I think are fantastic. Yeah, I expected a little more, or wanted a little more, or deserved a little more, I think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's our show for the week, everybody. You pay attention to what's happening at Venice Film Festival. We might have some pre-award show stuff coming out of there. If you have any questions of any kind, if you have any comments you want to make, leave it in YouTube. A huge shout out to Scott Marcus for always turning these videos around. We do appreciate how much time you spend. It takes a long time. Shana, as always, thanks for hanging out.
Thanks. See you next week. And I'll be coming with my very stellar review of Elvis, because I'm going to watch that too.
Nice. Okay. All right.
All right.
All right, everybody. See you next week.